a blue square at CUNY in New York. Hello, I'm Amy Zawi with the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report for June 7, 2023. On May 17th, just about 2 weeks ago, I reported on how CUNY, the City University of New York, a public school system, was working proactively to combat antisemitism, which has taken root systemically within the CUNY system, and this was documented. One of the initiatives, just one of them, to raise awareness and show solidarity with the large Jewish community both in the school and the surrounding area is to display a blue square as a pin on one's clothes or as part of their social media profile. This blue square seemed to be completely absent from the recent CUNY Law School graduation ceremonies. The student body there elected Fatima Mousa Mohammed to give a commencement address. The resulting remarks were anti-American, anti-rule of law, and anti-Semitic. The only bright side to this speech is that it truly exposes and puts on full display the philosophical underpinnings of much of the faculty and curriculum of many university and degree programs. And these are the people that are training our next generations of lawyers, teachers, business leaders, policymakers, doctors, etc. The exposure activated many Jewish and non-Jewish students, alumni, community members, and supporters of the Jewish community and Zionism, supporters of Israel, to respond. The speech, which can be found here, this link, was a vitriolic attack on all that Western civilization stands for, including Judeo-Christian values, the rule of law, capitalism, and of course the existence of the only Jewish state in the world. So I ask, what happened to the blue square during this event? And why does it take such an overt expression of hate speech to garner any kind of reaction from the general public and consolidate us and bring us together? Why do some people feel so emboldened and entitled to use a public taxpayer forum to denigrate the very foundations and principles and people who produce our exceptional society that offers the opportunities, freedoms, and educational avenues that they're taking advantage of? Anyone in the room celebrating a law degree from SUNY, having earned it, should be thanking the very system that generated an educational system such as CUNY, a diverse, opportunity-rich city such as New York, located in a nation where one can freely express opposition to any given political leader, corrupt system, cultural trend, etc. Free speech is free, and these students are free to denigrate the very foundations upon which they have stepped on to get to where they're getting. But do they do that on the stage paid for by the taxes of the people they rail against? The backlash to this speech is thankfully completely bipartisan and reveals that reasonable Americans with some sense of values regarding human rights and dignity and knowledge of the history and origins of our system can come together and agree. This speech was actually hate speech. And I'm not advocating for censoring free speech, but I am advocating for sensibilities at our taxpayer-funded institutions of higher learning that their standards on what political agenda items could make it into a graduation speech. And further, I query why so many of our graduates hate the very society that brings them the freedom to pursue their interests in the first place. Fortunately, the unabashed New York Post was the first to post the speech and shine a light on the speech when it could have been largely overlooked, and that this seed of poison sowed by Fatima might have been left to germinate unfettered. But now we can uproot it. We can uproot the weeds of hate, and that is the only way to prevent an even bigger harvest. Representative Michael Loyler, who was part of the IAF Israel Allies Caucus in Congress, and he was on our Red Alert last week, making some remarks in support of Israel. Well, he vowed publicly in response to this speech to work on legislation curtailing taxpayer funds to CUNY till it cracks down on anti-Semitism. Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas, is also outspoken on this and joins the legislative route on this topic. New York Mayor Eric Adams, a Democrat and former New York City transit police officer, gave remarks at this graduation event before Fatima gave her speech. And when he took the stage, the student body actually turned their backs on him. Future New York City prosecuting attorneys and DA officers turned their backs on the man who put his own life on the line daily to protect innocent, hardworking New Yorkers. They deemed Mayor Adams as part of the, quote, fascist police, against which these law school students will likely go to work. By the way, after the commencement speech came out, Mayor Adams held a Jewish heritage celebration at Gracie Mansion. Adams told the crowd that had he been able to stay for the entire event and hear Fatima's speech live, he would have stood up right then and spoken out against it. Now, Congressman Torres, a Democrat from New York, represents the South Bronx. He stated that such hateful speech had no place in publicly funded institutions like CUNY, and he will work in his jurisdiction to curtail those fundings. And Barry Grodinck, a former Democrat city councilman, also publicly chimed in that he agreed with this avenue, as Congressman Torres said. CUNY alumni are also voicing their opposition to the speech and the conditions that allowed it. And some faculty are also speaking up, including the chancellor of the CUNY system. Most of these lawmakers, community leaders, faculty members on all sides of the political aisles, local and national levels, are communicating their stances via press releases and social media. My request to you is that you all carefully examine the public institutions of learning in your communities and your state. Be vocal in pointing out to your elected officials what you see is going wrong, and show your network how your tax dollars are being used to destroy their very own foundations. From local school districts to boards of education and universities, your prayers and your voice and your willingness to expose deceit and evil while sharing the truth is the only mechanism by which we can preserve our foundations. Maybe we should all consider displaying a blue square alongside our crosses, our American flag, and our Stars of David. Supporting Israel and the Jewish people is not just a biblical mandate for Christians. It should be part of a logical approach to local community relations as well as a greater global policy. Shavua Tov, and have a great week.